Dr.SUJIYA.S, Assistant Professor in the Department of Computer Application at Dr. SNS College of Arts and Science. Today the series 1 video I'm going to discuss is about Introduction to Deadlocks in Operating System. What is a deadlock and which occurs in the operating system is a process which enters a waiting state when another process holds the required resources, and this situation is generally called as a deadlock. And this occurs commonly in multi-operating systems where multiple processes share a specific type of resources, and which is known as soft lock or software. This resource is mutually exclusive, and one of the real-time example is one-directional traffic where the bridges is a resources. So in operating system, a deadlock occurs when states where two or more processes are unable to proceed because each is waiting for resources that another process holds. It is a situation where a group of processes becomes permanently blocked, preventing any other further to process. Deadlock can occur when process completes for limited resources such as memory, devices, CPU time, and they are unable to release the resources they hold until they acquire the resource they are waiting for. So this is the diagram here. Resource 1, resource 2 shares process 1 and process 2. So here resource 1 holds the process 1 which is needed by process 2, and resource 2 is holded by process 2 which is in need of process 1. So this is the situation where a deadlock occurs. What are the necessary conditions for occurring of deadlock is the mutual exclusion, hold and wait, and no preemption, and circular wait. So what is mutual exclusion? This means that all resources cannot use the same resources simultaneously. Resources can only be used by a single process at a given time. And hold and wait is the process is holding at least a single resources and it's waiting to acquire another resources which is acquired by some other process. No preemptions. We cannot forcefully take the resources from the process, and process must leave the resource voluntarily after the completion of the execution. Circular wait is a process where each process is waiting for the resources held by the next process in a chain. Let's understand this as an example. Suppose two processes P1 and P2, and P1 is holding resources 1 and P2 wants resources 1, and P1 is waiting for resources 2. So if it gets resources 2, it will complete the execution and release both the resources. Here resources 2 is held by P2 as it is waiting for resources 1. So this is one of the example of circular wait. So this is the strategies for handling deadlock. One is deadlock prevention, next is deadlock avoidance, next is deadlock reduction and recovery, next is deadlock improvements. Deadlock prevention is a technique used by the operating system to prevent deadlock from occurring by ensuring that the necessary conditions for the deadlocks are never met, and this can be achieved through various methods such as a lock order, timeout based mechanism, and resource allocation. Here, deadlock prevention is considered to be the most effective approach than deadlock reduction and recovery as it eliminates the possibilities of deadlock altogether. However, it can be difficult to implement in practice as it may not always be possible or practiced to prevent deadlock completely. So this technique is very costly, so most organizations do not use it unless it is top priorities of the organization to make system deadlock free. Deadlock avoidance is a technique used in operating system to prevent deadlock from occurring by ensuring that the necessary conditions for a deadlock are never met, and this can be achieved through various methods such as resource allocations using two-phase lock protocol and timeout mechanism. Here the avoidance is considered to be the most effective approach to deadlock reductions and recovery as it eliminates the possibilities of deadlock altogether. Here we must have a knowledge of resource prior to their allocation, and we have to see either these allocations will cause a deadlock or not. Deadlock reduction and recovery is a technique used by the operating system to detect and resolve deadlocks when it has been occurred. It can be achieved through various methods such as monitoring the state of the systems using an algorithm to detect when the deadlock has occurred and taking necessary actions to resolve the deadlock. Deadlock ignorance is a technique used by the operating system where the operating systems do not take any steps to prevent, detect, or recover from the deadlock. It is based on the assumption that deadlock will occur infrequently and their impact on the systems will be of minimal procedures. And this approach is generally considered to be less effective than deadlock prevention or deadlock and recovery, as it can lead to poor system performance and potentially cause the systems to become unresponsive. However, it is not recommended for systems where deadlock would lead to serious consequences. So difference between starvation and deadlock is, a deadlock is a situations where two or more processes are unable to proceed because each is waiting for one another to release resources. Starvation is a situations where the process is unable to acquire the resources it needs to continue execution. And what is the deadlock is caused by a circular wait where each process is waiting for the resources held by the next process in the chain, where starvation is caused by lack of resources or by systems that is unable to allocate resources fairly. Deadlock is a critical concept in operating systems that occurs when multiple processes are unable to proceed because each is waiting for resources that another process has been holding on. Deadlock can have severe consequences for system performance, resource utilizations, and overall system stability. So, it is critical for operating system to employ effective strategies to detect, prevent, and recover from deadlocks to ensure smooth executions of process and efficient resource management.